You know how the story originally broke? The Packers podcaster named Big B.
Shout out Big B.
Jamal Williams is inside the 30, out in front, a Green Bay touchdown.
Jamal Williams is the GOAT, the GOAT. That's all you need to know.
Let's keep it under 25 minutes, all right?
We might be too young to have a spotted cow, but we are both diehard Packers fans. Welcome back to the Underage Packers podcast. This is episode 141 and our second of the 2023 regular season for the Green Bay Packers. This weekend, the Packers will head to Atlanta, Georgia to take on an interesting Atlanta Falcons team. Both teams come into this match 1-0. The Packers a slight 1-point favorite in this game. I'm Joey, and here to preview it with me is my co-host, Big B. How are we feeling week 2?
Oh boy, we are on top of the world still.
Yes.
My confidence meter is through the roof. I am totally ready to get disappointed sometime this season. But for now, we are hype, baby. Let's go. Super Bowl.
I feel, depending on how the rest of the season goes, I feel like the NFL kind of set us up having the Bears be our first game, because now, to me, like, every player on the Packers is the best player at the position, besides Josh Myers. But we'll obviously see that kind of break against Atlanta, or hopefully not, but it's probably going to be not as exciting and as nearly flawless as a performance as there was in Chicago last week, especially in the second half. But let's talk about this, because I do think this is a very interesting non-divisional early season matchup. All right. Both these teams, just like last week, are kind of in similar situations, at least with their quarterbacks. With Desmond Ridder for the Atlanta Falcons, he does not have as much hype as Jordan Love does. The Falcons did not invest as much as the Packers did in Jordan Love with time and draft picks, but they both really don't know what they have in their quarterbacks. They don't know what they have in their teams overall, especially on the offensive side of the ball, because both of these teams are just so incredibly young on offense, at least. So we're going to talk about Atlanta a little bit down the line, because they are a bizarre team. As I told Big B before we recorded, they're funky. Okay. They are like pretty much a Chex Mix bag. They have like everything in there. Some of it's good, some of it's great, like the brown rye chips they have in there, and then some of it's meh. What are like those little like wheat things that they have to seal your full boy? But like I said, we'll talk about the trail mix, the Chex Mix that is the Atlanta Falcons in a little bit. But let's first start off, get a few more thoughts out there about the Packers' performance against the Bears. So first off, starting off on the offensive side of things, Jordan Love, the performance has digested within us, and still the consistency is that Jordan Love is very good, at least on last Sunday's game. And I watched this video from the QB school from JT O'Sullivan. Great stuff on there all the time, and I wish I had more time to consume his content. But he basically broke down all of the important Jordan Love throws from last week. And my takeaway from him is just that, even on some of the bad plays, some of the overthrows, some of the underthrows, one that comes on the top of my mind is the one to Romeo Doubs on third down. It's a cross route that Doubs is pretty wide open on, and Love overthrows him. Even on those plays, though, he is doing the right stuff. He has anticipation. He's making the right reads, and that's what we heard in training camp, that even though he's throwing interceptions, he's made an improvement from years 1 and 2 because he is making the correct reads, and he is doing a much better job at anticipating where his wide receivers will be. And I think that will be something that we can look forward to see growth in as the season moves along, because I think a lot of the problem too on last Sunday's game was just the fact that he didn't have a lot of chemistry with these wide receivers. This was only his 4th or 5th time seeing action in an NFL game. So he's still trying to learn all of that. But besides that, a lot of big plays. You can give however much credit you want to the Bears defense being horrendous. But he made good plays. He made some great throws, and I'm really happy with Love's performance. Big B, what do you think about Jordan?
Jordan Love is the next Hall of Fame quarterback. He is
Yep.
way too good of a quarterback. Like, he is going to be mountains higher than Aaron Rodgers. But realistically,
Whoa, okay.
I said realistically. I'm getting my realistic.
Okay, gotcha. I could already hear the content, the comments of people who didn't understand your sarcasm there, but continue.
Oh, yes. We always go sarcasm, and then we go to my actual thoughts. But, Jordan looked absolutely great. Of course, you want him to hit those throws like to Musgrave, but Musgrave won. I think it was more on Musgrave because he should have went up a little bit more.
Yeah.
But, that's going to get better the more they play together.
Yeah.
But I think he did everything right. His footwork, his anticipation, he was calm back there. He looked like a veteran quarterback, and that's all we wanted. And if he can build on that performance week by week, like, he's going to end up having a very good season, and I'm very excited for him.
Yeah, definitely. And the confidence, his level of calm in the game is something that a reporter asked about to Matt and Jordan in their press conferences after the game, and Matt was very complimentary of how his personality kind of interjected into his performance on the field, how it's involved in that. And like you said, he does look like a veteran. He does not look too scattered, and he plays off the cool, calm, and collected persona that Brett Hundley was trying to do all this time, chewing gum on the sideline. But the obvious thing there is that Brett Hundley, was terrible. So, like, that's the difference. So that's enough for Brett Hundley. And I think that's as much as we can say about Jordan Love. And we'll get to talk about him a little bit more later, specifically in regards to this Atlanta Falcons defense. Now, the quarterback that you mentioned just a few seconds ago in a sarcastic manner, Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, we have to talk about him. And I don't even, this is besides the obsession that some fans have with Aaron Rodgers in general. But what happened on Monday night directly affects the Packers. And also, if you're a fan of the Packers, if you have been for the past decade, you had some emotions on Monday night. And that's very reasonable. Aaron Rodgers obviously tearing his Achilles tendon just 4 plays into the Jets season. And as much as I was hoping the Jets would go 0-17 and Aaron Rodgers would not perform well, that sucked. It absolutely sucks to see a guy in his 19th year of playing, regardless of what he did for the Packers. It just sucks the same way it would suck if Tom Brady last year had a season-ending injury. For all the work he's put in the past 6 months in New York, all the hype around that team, and then all of a sudden, snap of the fingers or a bending of the Achilles, and it's over. It's over. Yeah. And then, the direct effects for the Packers, obviously, is the fact that their conditional second or first round pick from the New York Jets will indeed be a second round pick, because Rodgers will obviously not be playing 65% of the snaps for the Jets this year. But, the one thing is, this is much better. I'm not going to say that, but I don't want to get myself in trouble. But the one thing is that the fact that Rodgers is getting injured early in the season is that the Jets probably are not going to be all that great this year. I mean, who knows what Zach Wilson can do, but Rodgers is going to be out the whole season. So I would say there's a pretty good chance that second round draft pick is going to be in the 30s or 40s for Green Bay, which is good, and obviously, hindsight 2020, of course, like the Packers clearly won this trade now. Like, unless he comes back next year and wins them a Super Bowl, like, I don't know, man. Especially with how Jordan Love is performing in his first game.
Yeah.
Looking pretty good for the Packers. Big B, what were your reactions to all of the Rodgers news coming out Monday night?
Yeah, well, at first I was like, "Oh my God, he's going to be out for a few games." Like,
Yep.
the 65% could be a little washy there. And then
Yeah.
I realized I just tweeted a play before that about like jokingly saying he's like playing 100% of the snaps. Like, we're going to get 65% if he keeps this up. We got on what is it, freezing takes or whatever. So that was kind of
Freezing
cool.
cold takes. Yeah.
But my heart absolutely breaks for Aaron. Yep, my heart absolutely breaks for Aaron, and it just sucks seeing him go down. And like, I just wanted to watch him like have fun, have a good year. Like, he was just looked like he was on top of the world. Like, he was having so much fun going to like the hockey games, the basketball games, hanging out with Sauce Gardner, who is absolutely overrated and should be like just cooked every single week by opposing offenses. It sucks. It just sucks. Like,
Yeah.
you just hate to see it. And like that entire night, like, I was having a hard time trying to fall asleep just thinking about that, and like thinking about like how terrible this is for the NFL, how terrible it is for Rodgers, how terrible it is for the Jets, how terrible it is for the Packers. Like, it's just the worst case scenario for everybody involved.
Yeah, everybody lost that night besides the Jets. Well, the Jets won the game, but still lost quite a bit there. Yeah, I completely forgot that you got on freezing cold takes. That was a crazy moment because I didn't even see, like, I found out about it not through your message. I found it like scrolling on my Twitter feed in the following feed from freezing cold takes. And I was like, oh my God, that is Big B on the Old Takes Exposed account. So
yeah, that was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
something like I didn't have to say something outrageous to like even get on there. Just like a sarcastic tweet. So that's like probably best case scenario.
Exactly. Like, there's much worse ways that you could have ended up on freezing cold takes for the first time. So that's Aaron Rodgers news. And we'll have to see what the rest of his career looks like. Okay, back to focusing on the Packers here. There is one last note I did want to touch on as far as offensive side of the ball goes, and that is A.J. Dillon. Okay, we need to talk about him. This needs to be addressed. Okay, I really like A.J. Dillon. He has done a lot in the community. Clearly has a great personality, but there's a big but that for how he's built, he is not very good at gaining yardage. Like, it's just that simple. Like, he's tough to bring down, sure, but usually, like, he's just not fast enough in pockets and holes that arise. He's just not fast enough getting to those that, by the time he's ready to make that cut, there's already 3 or 4 guys on him that, he's hardly ever tackled. Like, I don't know if I can recall a play where A.J. Dillon was brought to the ground, but it's always like, his forward progress is stopped and he's just getting dragged back by a herd of dudes. And, AJ addressed this on Twitter in this offseason, how he really wanted to improve on just running the ball in general, breaking tackles, making space for himself. And in that first game, that was not what we saw. And, he's never going to be a primary running back because that's just not who he is. And that's completely fine. But if his job is going to be a bowling ball of a runner, he needs to be a bowling ball. He can't just be knocking down one pin every roll. All right. So I'm optimistic. I think that Bears game was a bad showing for him, but it is a contract year for AJ, and as a second round draft pick, he has not, turned out to the player we hoped he would. Big B, I know you might have
Yeah.
some emotions about this, considering that AJ Dillon was virtually Jamal Williams' replacement. So, what are your thoughts on AJ these past 2 seasons?
Well, now that you bring up Jamal Williams, that reopened like a
Yeah,
wound I had. And all I'm saying is we should have kept Jamal Williams. He's way better than AJ Dillon. Respectfully, of course, because I absolutely love AJ Dillon and he's awesome. But should have kept Jamal Williams. And, AJ, like, his performance versus the Bears, like, it's a tough look for him. But
yeah,
you gotta look at his holes in that game. Like, he was getting no space. Like
yeah,
and like the play calls and like Josh Myers didn't like block on that like pitch play. He on that play like he just got unlucky in the plays that he was running, and the offensive line didn't do that good of a job when he's in. And really, when AJ Dillon's in, is pretty much a test for the offensive line to see how well they're blocking, because like AJ Dillon's gonna run most of the time.
yeah,
So defenses are going to bring the blitz. They're going to be more aggressive because they're just assuming the run is going to happen. So that's also another thing. And the farther we get in the season, the better he does. Like by the time it's like November, December, that's when he plays the best football. We can't expect much from like in September and like kind of November also. Like December is when he does good. January is when he's at his best. Is in those cold weather, the defense is all worn down. That's when he feasts. So September is kind of like in those hotter like months. That's when he's kind of just warming up and just what I'm trying to say. I don't even know what I'm trying to get at, but you understand what I'm saying. I'm just gonna shut up and stop talking.
No, you made some good points there, and especially with offensive line just not providing him the best opportunities for his running style, but also the play calling for him is just weird.
Exactly. Yes.
Like I hate to bring up Brett Hundley again, and I don't even know if this is a great analogy, but in 2017,
Brett Hundley.
when Aaron Rodgers went down, Mike McCarthy did not change his offense that much to cater to Brett Hundley. And not that he had a great, unique skill set, besides the fact that he was more mobile than Rodgers. He expected Brett Hundley to, like play in the same system that Aaron Rodgers was used to. And I'm obviously not expecting Mike to completely change around his offensive philosophy, but just like cater down to Brett Hundley. Do what's best for him. And Matt always talks about putting his players in the best position to succeed, but putting AJ Dillon on a sweep, putting AJ Dillon on a counter, that's not going to work. Literally just send him straight down the gut and have him run into a few guys. That's just me though. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, all I do in that is just send him up the middle and let him run through a motherfucker's face, Like, it's very easy.
It should be. So, we'll see how Dillon's rest of the season looks. That's all I have on offense for the Packers. On defense, very good showing. I think this more so than the offense is one that's like, how great was that? With the context of how bad the Bears offense is. But I mean, they did take DJ Moore, Chase Claypool completely out of the game, and Justin Fields was just under constant pressure. The initial total that the Packers had for pressures was 25. That got up to 36. Yeah, Devontae Wyatt getting 6, and then 5 for both Lucas Van Ness and Rashawn Gary. 2 guys who were labeled as busts early on in their career. Lucas Van Ness, hopefully that's not the only thing that he shares with Rashawn Gary's career path. We can cut out the ACL injury part, but other than that, and the crazy thing about Rashawn is that those 5 pressures came on 10 pass rushing snaps. That's just dumb. That's nuts.
That man is gonna eat. When he gets like full snaps, like that man is gonna eat. It's gonna be scary.
I cannot wait to see Rashawn Gary go off. That's for sure. So great job from the pass rushing group. Loved having Devontae White in there instead of Dean Lowry. It just felt right. And then finally, one last player I wanted to talk about. Quay Walker was the Packers' highest graded defensive player by quite a bit, with a 92.1 PFF grade. Obviously had that pick six, just an unbelievable return on that, and looked really good outside of that as well. So Quay Walker, hopefully this is a good sign for kind of a bounce back year from his rookie year. And I do think like the memory of Quay's rookie year gets a little bit washed out by the memory of his two stupid, idiotic ejections. Because I thought he was good last year, and I think he showed signs to be another athletic linebacker, just like Devondre Campbell was. So I'm really looking forward to Quay's performance this season. Anything you want to add, Big B, before we move on to the Atlanta Falcons?
Not really. I'll just say Matt LaFleur was absolutely cooking versus the Bears. Some of those play calls were absolutely gorgeous, like the halfback, like toss back screen thingamabob thing was gorgeous. Just beautiful. It's just one of those where you just like just it's all you have to say. It's just that's like our only emotion. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I completely get what you're saying there.
Yes.
On to the Atlanta Falcons here. Interesting bunch. All right. Head coach Arthur Smith. If I had not crossed the street with him at the 2021 NFL Combine, I would not believe he's a real person if I did not have that interaction. But I can confirm that he is a real person. He is the son of the FedEx CEO or founder. So this man is truly doing it for the love of the game. Like, he could have $10 billion waiting for him, and he probably does have $10 billion. But this, like, he has the only incentive Arthur Smith has to be an NFL head coach is to like have a good purpose in life instead of working for the family company. So like, good for him, man. Let's start off for the offense for Atlanta. I watched their game against Carolina. Desmond Ridder out of Cincinnati, like, he looks fine. Like, he doesn't look terrible. He doesn't look like he's going to be a liability. I don't think he's ever going to be, in the top half of NFL quarterbacks, but he can be Jared Goff. He can do that. Especially with the playmakers Atlanta has. Obviously, you have Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Cordero Patterson is just a Swiss Army knife. And now you have Bijan Robinson in that group as well. So there's a lot to like on Atlanta's offense. Offensive line is not as great. So yeah, the one weird thing though about Atlanta's offense is even though they have all those playmakers, is that they just like don't seem to use them. Like last week, Drake London and Kyle Pitts barely got involved. Fantasy owners of Bijan Robinson will know that they use Tyler Algier quite a bit instead of Robinson.
That's really frustrating. Like I spent a 9th overall pick on BJ Robinson just for Tyler Algier to get the goal line carries. Like, what are we doing? Come on, man.
Yeah.
I'm thankfully got that receiving touchdown, or else I would be livid.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought up that receiving touchdown because it transitions into the next point I want to talk about on Atlanta's offense. Because on that play, it was a funky thing that they had Bijan do. He starts out lined up as a slot wide receiver, goes to the backfield pre-snap, and like pretty much while the snap is happening is like going out for a route, motioning back to a wide receiver role, and is then open on the side for Ridder. So they use Bijan in some interesting motion situations. And then the one big thing that stuck out to me as well is all the motion they use for their tight ends. And like this team is a lot more tight end heavy than I thought, I'll be honest. They have 2 or 3 guys outside of Kyle Pitts who they frequently use, especially in the running game. So they have 2 veterans, Michael Pruitt and Jonnu Smith. Both of those guys got 50% of the snaps last week. And they were like motioning all over the place. It was weird. They didn't do, I don't know if I could say they did an excellent job at run blocking, but their illusion of complexity certainly worked on Carolina's defense. So you have those 2 veterans there, and then you also have Ty Hess, who they virtually used as a fullback. He lined up in the H-back position quite a bit, in the B gap between a guard and a tackle. So he got some interesting usage, and then obviously you have Kyle Pitts too, who's basically just a wide receiver. And then one of those playmakers that I mentioned for Atlanta, Cordero Patterson, he had a thigh injury that kept him out in week 1, which is obviously big. He was a full participant on Wednesday's practice. We'll see what his status looks like for this game on Sunday. So him and Christian Watson, 2 great playmakers for both teams who have injuries. It's going to be interesting to see if they play or not on Sunday.
I mean, Cordell Patterson, I think, is like RB3, right? Like, I wouldn't expect them to play him over like Bijan and Tyler Algier. Like, insane.
Yeah.
Insane how much depth they got. Like, they were even the 3rd best rushing offense last year, and then they add Bijan on top of that. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, I mean they are just like Thanos, like adding all the Infinity Stones of playmakers, and not that like Cordero Patterson is like I'd have Aaron Jones over him any day of the week, obviously, but Cordero is just such a unique player. So like it's weird. I'm so glad the Bears and the Vikings had no clue how to use them on offense. Just so glad. And then on to the really interesting part of this team, it's the defense. Okay, I'm sure if you've paid attention to the conversation about this team, you have seen plenty about the bizarre pressure packages they have. Kind of reminds me of Mizzou's defensive scheme, which I know literally none of you care about. And I appreciate those of you who do not care at all about Mizzou for not unfollowing me when I live tweet their games for the student newspaper. But basically, Mizzou's defense, they run a 3-3-5, and they will have like 6, 7, 8 guys, not even on the line, but just in the box. And the quarterback has no idea what guys are blitzing them, what guys are going to drop back in coverage. And it can get really funky sometimes. And the Falcons, they they don't do as much as the like heavy boxes as Mizzou does. But what I noticed quite a bit is they often put 6 guys on the line, and kind of the same thing of not knowing if the 2 inside linebackers are going to drop back off in coverage, or if the outside linebackers are going to drop back, or if all 6 are going to come for them. And then also they involve defensive back blitzes. There was quite a few times where like Jesse Bates would start out pretty much in a star position, and then all of a sudden, right before the play is snapped, he will like move up to the defensive line. And I can't remember if it was him or another defensive back, but a defensive back for Atlanta did that thing last week and got a sack off of it. So I think, well, actually, I'm going to save what I was just going to say because I have that for a later point. Okay. One last thing for Atlanta's defense here is the fact that they do, just like the offense, they have young playmakers, but they also have some interesting veterans. Like, I'm going to list some names of the people on the Atlanta defense, and you are going to think to yourself, they are still in the league, and when did they sign with Atlanta? For a lot of these players, okay, you have Bud Dupree. Like I don't know what I thought Bud Dupree did. I thought like maybe he like went the Ricky Jean Francois route and went into like the Dunkin' Donuts business. That that was my best guess, but he is with the Atlanta Falcons now. You also have Calais Campbell, and then Jesse Bates from the Bengals, and then their defense coordinator Ryan Nielsen. He was the defensive line coach slash co-defensive coordinator in New Orleans last year. He was with New Orleans since 2017, and with him, he brought over David Onyemata, a defensive end, and then also Caden Ellis, inside linebacker, who like isn't going to be Brian Urlacher. I just love to throw out my extreme standards for inside linebackers, but he's never going to be all that great. But I think for Atlanta's defense, he is fine for them. He is very fast, and he does what they need him to do in this system with a lot of interesting blitz packages. Same with Troy Anderson, that's inside linebacker, young player, got drafted out of Oregon a few years ago. Just a very fast guy, quick to get to the backfield. So their inside linebackers are, good but not great, I would say. But they're good. They're good for sure. The one thing that I saw Atlanta's defense struggle in last week was just the fact that this is a brand new system for them, and they are still trying to learn it. So there were some times where a lot of the pre-snap activity that they were trying to do, some of the younger players kind of got lost in all of that. Like Carolina had a big 30-yard reception from Hayden Hurst in their game last weekend, and that was just opened up by some motion, and the assignments were handed off correctly from two of the defensive players on Atlanta, and then boom, Hayden Hurst has a wide open lane. So I do think I'm hoping Matt LaFleur has some interesting complexities schemed up this week to kind of fight fire of Atlanta's defense pre-snap motion with fire of Green Bay Packers offense pre-snap motion. So I think that's all I got on the Atlanta Falcons. Big B, any other thoughts on Atlanta?
Not really. I don't think. No, they're just interesting team. I think we can beat them easily. Will definitely be a lot tougher than Chicago because of how terrible Chicago is and how terrible just every aspect of that organization is. And Atlanta's a much better run organization. We haven't won in Atlanta in 50 years. So I mean, it'd be nice to get a win in Atlanta finally.
Yeah, I mean there have been some great games in Atlanta though. Like the 2016 game that was kickstarted or begun our 4 straight losses in 2016. I mean, that was just an amazing game. Came down to the wire, and Julio Jones got a touchdown there. The game that happened in January of 2017, we don't have to talk about that. And then
what happened? That game, I don't even know. I didn't. They played. They played in January.
I guess. I thought they beat Dallas, and they were like, "Yeah, we're good. That's enough for us." I don't know.
Yeah,
but there have been rumors. There have been rumors that they played a game in 2016, and Aaron Rapkowski and the secondary got cooked. But I haven't seen any confirmation of that.
Yeah, who knows? There's no footage of it, and my knowledge. So yeah, it's one of those things.
Exactly. And then in 2010, the playoff game there, that was just unbelievable. I know we played them earlier in that season, but I have no idea that went down in that game. So I guess that the Tramon Williams pick 6 divisional game, that blowout might be the last time we won in Atlanta. That's the last time I can recall.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can end that streak this weekend. So with that being said, what are the keys to Green Bay winning this game? For me, it is winning the turnover battle. Because Atlanta's offense isn't going to be all that great, but Jesse Bates got 2 interceptions last week. So we cannot be coughing up the ball in Atlanta's territory, giving them or in our own territory. We cannot be giving Atlanta's offense any more opportunities than they will have, because it's not like they're going to score 40 in this game. So let's protect the ball, and then also we're just same for us. We need to get as many opportunities as we can on the offensive side of the ball, and that's kind of seems like a pretty obvious statement in football, but especially in this game, I think it's going to be an important factor. Big B, what does Green Bay need to do to win this game?
I mean, I think it's pretty simple yet again, is just, stopping the run. I mean, that's pretty much all that offense can do. I mean, I personally don't think they trust Desmond Ridder as much as they probably should. So, I mean, stopping the run is pretty much the simplest thing they could do to get a win. Bijan Robinson's going to be a problem. He'll probably get his. Stop him, and I think we're fine.
Yeah, definitely. So, like you said, they don't seem to trust Desmond Ridder that much. I didn't trust him to make many big throws, which I think kind of explains the lack of involvement of Pitts and London. So that will be big. All right, on to our biggest question for this game. For me, it's going to be the same one I had last week of how is Jordan Love going to respond to the pressure. Last week I had this as my key, and I more so meant it as the circumstances. But in this week, I mean it more literally of the pressure that Atlanta is going to present to him. We saw him, this is his rookie year in 2020 when he had to go up against the Chiefs. Or was that 21? 2021, his second year, where he had to go up against Steve Spagnuolo's Chiefs, and it was sent a lot of pressure, did not go out well for him. So, this game against Atlanta, he's going to have to do a lot more reading of the defense, going to have to do a lot more diagnosing of this team. So that's my key, or my biggest question. And then also he's gonna have to learn to get the ball out quick today, or on Sunday. But offensive line held up pretty well against Chicago last week, so hopefully they can do similar against Atlanta. Big B, what are you shivering in your timbers about this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, mine is pretty much the same as yours. How is Jordan Love and the offense as a whole going to respond to all those funky blitz packages Atlanta's got cooked up? They were bringing some wild stuff to Carolina last week, according to the Twitter clips that I saw. So, I mean, if they can do what they did last week, especially on the money downs, I think they'll be fine. But it's still definitely my biggest concern heading into this game.
Yeah, most definitely. And then our predictions for who is having a big day. I have Quay Walker. Praised him earlier. I just think he's going to eat. One of the things I noticed in their game against Carolina again, Bijan Robinson, he didn't do it many times, but he had a few times where he had to block on a passing play, and he just gets absolutely obliterated by some very fast and very powerful Carolina Panthers players. So I hope Joe Barry is cooking up some interesting opportunities for Quay Walker. And then also, Desmond Ridder is going to give you a few balls. So hopefully Quay can add a second or third interception to this season this Sunday. Big B, who you got?
I got future Hall of Fame tight end Luke Musgrave. B. What is his name? Tight end. You mentioned him earlier. Having a brain fire.
Kyle Pitts.
Carolina. No, Carolina.
Hayden Hurst.
Hayden Hurst had a very nice game last week against Atlanta's defense. So I think Luke Musgrave will actually keep his feet underneath him, not fall over again on a easy walk-in touchdown, and might actually get a couple TDs this week. I'm pretty pumped. I think I might actually start him in fantasy once again. I'm all in on the Luke Musgrave train, and I think he's going to have a very big game.
If the NFL just allowed him to wear his iconic 5-inch inseam shorts, like he would go off for 5 touchdowns every game, I got to say.
Oh, it's over. It's over if that happens.
It's Joe for the NFL there in that case. You did mention how on that one play he like just tripped and fell. And it's so funny because I saw Ross Uglum tweet out after that, like, this is signs of Musgrave's bad coordination. I'm like, that's the thing that you guys pay attention to? Like, this is something you knew? Like, that's nuts. Like, maybe we need to have, like, at the combine, start having the players, like, walk a gymnastics beam just to see their balance. So, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all about this Atlanta Falcons Packers game. Big B. Yeah, I did have one more thing extracurricular that I didn't want to bring up before we sign off here. But Big B, any other thoughts you wanted to add to Atlanta? And then finally, what's your confidence level going into this game?
Oh, confidence level is at a good old 90%. I think we're going to win this game easily. Like,
okay.
I'm that confident in this team. The Bears being so bad got me so confident. Like, I'm ready to go. I am ready to run through a brick wall for this team, and I absolutely love this team. We're gonna beat Atlanta, and 1-0 every week. Let's go, baby.
Okay, I get that. I appreciate that. I am just a little bit more confident than I was going into last week's game. Last week I was at a 70. Today, for this weekend, I'm thinking 75. I'm thinking 75% chance we win this game. I think it's going to be close either way, though. There's a reason Vegas has us as only 1-point favorites. So that's that game. And then finally, like I said, before we want to sign off, I did want to bring up this video from Mike McCarthy, who spoke virtually at the Packers Hall of Fame induction ceremony for wide receiver Jordy Nelson and offensive lineman Josh Sidden. I mean, this was just an amazing video from McCarthy, and for how much criticism he's got from Packers fans over the years, and how his legacy was kind of marred in the 2016 through 2018 years. This really made me realize, man, I really appreciate Mike McCarthy and all that he did for the Green Bay Packers. So this is an awesome 100%. Clip. I'm going to play it for you.
Good evening, Green Bay. Congratulations to the 2 newest members of the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame, Jordy Nelson and Josh Sidden. Man, I can't think of 2 more opposite personalities, which is why it's so perfect you 2 are receiving this honor together. Josh and Jordy, you 2 may be different, but you're both special. And what you share in common is the greatness you exhibited for the green and gold. I'm honored and grateful for our moments and memories. Congratulations on such a well-earned, well-deserved honor. Love you, man.
That's just amazing. And I love Mike McCarthy. I did also Aaron Rodgers did a video for that too, and he was listing off all the things that Jordy Nelson had, and he was like, Jordy, you are a great wide receiver. You're this, and this. And he says, and he's struggling to think of anything else. And then he just goes, you are a farmer. I
love that.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. So other than that, though, I think that's all we got for you. We appreciate you tuning into this week's episode of the Underage Packers podcast. We will probably do a game recap on Sunday night, just like we did for that Bears game. So be on the lookout for that. Other than that, we'd appreciate it if you follow us on all the socials. And we'll talk to you later. As always, go Pack, go.